My name is John, and with my co-host Andy here, you're listening to Packers Blitz podcast, the podcast for the fans, done by two fans who survived the dark times of the 80s of Packer football and live to talk about it. So this podcast is always dedicated to the best fans of all, the greatest fans of all, Packer fans. So, Andy, how's everything going?
Really good. Welcome back. It's been a few
Yes.
weeks.
Yeah. So we're glad to be back. One of the things I want to start out with really quickly is TMZ, that great place for your news, says that Jair Alexander is dating Margot Robbie. So there you go, Andy. There's your gossip for the week and for you Packer fans.
Yep, no comment.
Margot Robbie is a Packer fan, right? Yeah, whatever. So just something I just wanted to share really quickly. So,
well, I like her even more then, because she's a Packer fan.
Yes, but we have good news this week. Andy, give me the good news because I love it.
Yeah, so good news. Tom Brady announced his retirement on Twitter Wednesday after 23 seasons in the NFL at 45 young years of age. He said, and I quote, he's quoting, "I'm retiring for good."
Yeah, right.
So the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, thank you. Thank you, Tom Brady. John would probably say something a little bit more foul-mouthed than I would.
This is PG.
Yeah. But so thank you, Tom Brady, for retiring. So that is good news for three important reasons with regards to the Packers organization. This is a show where we're trying to devote most of our time to the Packers and not Tom Brady. So with regards to the Packers organization and Aaron Rodgers' future with the team. So number one, the Packers will get better compensation for Aaron Rodgers in the event that we trade him. There is one less capable veteran quarterback to be signed by or traded to some win now team, a savvy and wily vet who is willing and able to take that NFL team to the Super Bowl. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, the Packers have better odds of reaching the Super Bowl with a Brady-less NFC conference.
Yes.
That improves the odds that the team and Aaron Rodgers might give it one more year, one more year. And the third thing is, and this, we're saving this the best for last. And so how about this one, Packers fans? Aaron Charles Rodgers does not want to retire the same year as Tom Brady.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to play second fiddle, so to speak, to the GOAT during the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction in Canton. Because of a great quarterback's ego, he will want to have his year and his glory to be the top inductee that year. I guarantee you, Packer fans, that Aaron Charles Rodgers wants the limelight to be completely on him. He is coming back in 2023. Hopefully that is with the Packers. I know that this offseason has been like the movie Groundhog Day, but it's only a matter of time until A-Rod decides to come back for another season. So that's the key there, I think, with the Brady retirement. John, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that announcement. And the other question I had for you, have you seen the new Tom Brady movie, 80 for Brady yet? Have you seen that?
And let me start with Tom Brady. This is what I think of Tom Brady. And I'm not going to get into it. This is a PG show. I don't believe he's retired. I think San Francisco or another team is going to be like, hey, Tom, one more year. Come on, buddy. Help us out. We, especially in the NFC, like you said, it's a weak division. As far as the 80 for Brady, it's been getting really bad reviews. And it's a 5.5 on IMDb. So thank God a lot of people are saying that it's basically an ode to Brady, like he's some perfect person. Remember, just really quickly before I get off of my tangent, we can get back to the Packer news and all that good stuff, is his last year, he kicked a guy while he was down who sacked him and to pay like a $15,000 fine. Then he slid into a Dallas player who intercepted him and could have ended that player's career. And he finished with a losing record and he got bounced right out of the playoffs. So that's your legacy, Tom Brady, you left with. That's all I have to say on that. So moving on. We do have
Well,
some
before we
bad
move
news,
on,
Andy.
just to let you know, Packers fans and John, he is an actor now, and he's a producer on that film. Just to let you know, he's branching out. Yeah, I think his company's called 12 Brady or Brady 12 or
of
something
course
like
it
that.
is.
Okay, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
And yeah,
yeah.
whatever.
So, but the other
And
thing, my other thought on him retiring, I really think he is retired.
okay. All right.
And I think he had said this way back in the beginning that his goal was to get to 45. So he's achieved that. So I really don't think he's coming
Yeah.
back. But you're right. Never say never.
Yeah.
Just like with Brady and Favre, the same thing happened with
Mhm.
Favre. Where is he
Right.
come back? Is he not? He's retired. Is he not?
Right.
And yeah, I wouldn't put. I mean, he already did it once where he came back. So there is a
Yeah.
possibility. There's always that possibility. So you may be right, John. I think in this case, though.
Yeah.
If I was betting on it, I would bet that he would not be coming back, but we'll see on that.
Yeah, he's got that $375 million thing with Fox.
$1 million. Yes,
Jeez,
375 with Fox. Yeah.
Anyway.
Congratulations.
All right. We do have
on
some
that.
bad news though, Packer fans. So Andy,
Yeah,
let's give them the bad news.
Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons hired Jerry Gray. He's now the former Green Bay's defensive backs / passing game coordinator. They hired him to be their new assistant head coach / defense. And I'm not sure what that means. I was trying to figure out whether that was defensive coordinator. I found it in several sources, and I'm like, defense what? Just defense? But anyway, he's assistant head coach, so he's second in line, I guess, to that. So
gotcha.
it is kind of, I'm sure it's a bump up in pay. He's, so congratulations to him. But I think that considering, who our defensive coordinator is presently, that is a big loss for the coaching staff. I'm just going to say so. But the good news, we're back to the good news again. Quay Walker, our rookie linebacker and first-round pick from Georgia, was named to the all-rookie team as selected by the Pro Football Writers of America. He played in all 17 games, 16 starts, and led the team with 121 tackles. 75 of those were solo tackles. According to Packers.com senior writer Mike Spofford, hopefully I pronounced that right, Walker is the first Packers player in 3 years to make the all-rookie team, and he is the first Green Bay inside linebacker to do so since A.J. Hawk in 2000. Hawks. Yeah, since A.J. Hawk in 2006. So that's the reason I brought it up, John, and Packers fans, because it's been a while since we had somebody on the all-rookie team. And it's been a while in particular for our inside linebackers. So, but John, the only thing I wanted to ask about that, AJ Hawk, doesn't he bring back fond memeries for you?
Yeah. When the running back would be 5 yards down the field and it comes AJ Hawk dog piling like he made a tackle and he really didn't. But
didn't make a whole lot of plays on their side of the ball. It was always on our side, 5, 10, 15 years down the field.
Down the field, couldn't cover the tight end. However, he did help us win a Super Bowl, and he really is a funny announcer on Pat McAfee show. He's very funny, and he actually brings some insight into the football commentary and stuff. So, maybe not the greatest player. Remember, he was taken 5th overall in that draft. So
very high.
Very high.
Yeah.
But he's a Packer Hall of Famer. if he isn't already, I believe he is. If not, he's going to be. But yeah, not, not the greatest linebacker that we had. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I
That's
think
all
he
it's
was a
been.
he
That's
was a
all.
pretty instinctive player,
Stink. Just didn't
but he was tended to be a little bit slow.
low. Yes.
Slow.
Yeah. Now,
So
if Quay Walker can stop pushing trainers and stop pushing people on the
yeah,
sideline,
doing stupid stuff.
doing
Yeah.
stupid stuff, I think we got it. I think we have somebody, hopefully for the next 4 or 5 years, if not longer, at the inside linebacker spot. So that is great. So
And he's fast.
yes. So
Yep.
let's get to topics of the week. So we're doing a year in review part 2 because one thing we were thinking, Andy and I, was that we didn't really grade out some of the players. And also, I wanted to talk about some of the free agents that are out there. Should we keep them or let them go? But Andy is going to start out with his player grades. And we're going to start with offense. And we're going to start with my boy, Aaron Rodgers. So take it away, Andy.
Yeah, to be brutally honest, John and Packer fans out there, it was really tough to do this because I just didn't have much motivation. I was thinking about it. It was just getting depressing. So, I'm going to keep this pretty short. And usually I'm a little bit, I'll write more information down. I'll have more information to give you guys. But basically, it was funny because some of the beat writers for the Packers and some of the online stuff that I look at and some of the articles that I read, they were giving out grades. And then, so I did my grades and then I went back and looked because I found them on my phone or whatever. And it was funny because my grades were pretty much exactly the same grades that they had given them. And I was just going off the cuff with it. So I was proud of myself, but not proud of myself because the grades were somewhat low at times. So I only picked a few.
Andy is a former teacher, so he's grading his Packers students.
Yeah, and we aren't going to get into great detail unless John wants to, but I'm just basically going to go through
because
yeah.
we know. I mean, Packer fans know.
They know. They saw it. They experienced it this year. So, well, on offense, of course, we have to mention Aaron Rodgers. I gave him a D.
That's harsh. That's a harsh grade, man. I would have gave him I would have gave him a low B, C+, but D.
Yep. And there were several other publications and several other people that are close to the Packers that gave him the same grade.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, maybe D+. I started actually off at about a C-, but then the more and more I thought about it, he had one of the his worst seasons.
Yes, he did.
And he had 26 touchdowns. This is off the top of my head. 26 touchdowns. 12 interceptions, more interceptions than usual. There are reasons for that because of our route running problems. Yes. He also had some uncharacteristic accuracy issues.
Yes.
Where sometimes he was throwing balls. It's like, where was he throwing that? To? So usually he was not that way. So and I think his completion percentage off the top of my head again was 64.
Yeah, it was low.
0.7%, which for him is low for Aaron Rodgers. But the key is he is there and he's paid to win us ball games.
Yeah, paid to win.
And win them when we need to win them. And so he failed the Packers, and we had talked about that as on previous podcasts in so many different ways. And I think, that's also an effort grade from him because I don't think he did enough. And I know he didn't do enough. And I think that a lot of Packers fans feel the same way I did. So I gave him a D.
Yeah, so Aaron Jones. Yeah, Aaron Jones.
Yeah, actually, they considered him kind of the MVP on offense. And I'd have to agree. He actually had a better season than the season before. Statistically very similar but better, so I gave him a B+.
I like it.
Probably could have even raised that to a A-.
Yep, absolutely.
I think he deserves that. Great ball player, great all-around game. again, one of the leaders in the league in yards per carry and whatnot, and always a playmaker scoring touchdowns. We just need him to play better in the playoffs or in the games that we need him to play well in and not fumble the ball.
Fumbles killed us.
Yeah. So, and then I just added in AJ Dillon. I didn't even want to put him in there, but he actually, I think, was a little bit worse than the previous year, and I put him at a C+.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty close to where he should be at.
I agree.
Is there anybody else on offense, John, that you wanted to talk about? Those I only brought up a few. So
the only thing, just really quickly, is there was a lot of what I call incompletes. I think Robert Tonyan. I mean, there were games he was, open and he caught some, but not really. And his blocking was like, I don't know. So I'm like, I don't want to say he failed, but I don't want to say he did. It was, and then David Bakhtiari, when he came back, he really played well the final 2 games, but still it's kind of incomplete. And then I don't know on defense too. And you're going to get into Kenny Clark here, but Kenny Clark, I don't know what was going on with him. But other than that, I was thinking like on offense, Bakhtiari and Tunyon was just guys I just went like, I don't know what to grade them because they're out there, they're playing, they're doing their thing. Mercedes Lewis, I would give actually a C because he usually is a dominant force in the run game. I think his age is starting to show, unfortunately. But other than that, he's usually an A or B guy for me. But this year he was a C. So that was for me on offense. Defense, like I said, Kenny Clark. Why don't you talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit up and down, and he admitted that himself. We had talked about this on a previous podcast.
Yeah.
His numbers actually were very similar to the year before, but he was very, very inconsistent. So I give him a C-. It was hilarious because when I went back and looked at some of the beat writers, they gave him the same grade. So I actually hadn't looked at that first. I gave him a C-, and there were reasons, for that we won't go into great detail, but I think that's pretty much where he's at. You expect him to be one of the leaders on defense, making plays and whatnot. And to be quite honest, he did not. Sometimes you didn't even know he was out there. So and that's why I mentioned him being one of the leaders on defense. I figured he should be the first one we talk about. Usually he's going to the Pro Bowl every year.
Yes, he is.
Jair Alexander, who's next, they considered him our MVP on defense. He also made the Pro Bowl, and deservedly so. I gave him an A-. I don't see how you couldn't have him in that category. Definitely a shutdown corner, a great player. Does sometimes do some bonehead things, but and shoots his mouth off, which we've talked about before. But I'm not going to downgrade him for that. If I was, I would give him a B. But I'm not. I'm giving him an A-, and deservedly so. We are very fortunate we have him as one of our corners.
Yes.
He might have to take a pay cut, unfortunately, so we can get restructure some contracts. He was one of the ones on the list. Good luck with that. But especially if he's dating Margot Robbie, if he's dating her, although she's married. He needs that money. Yeah, he needs the money.
Wine and diner.
She's worth it. She's definitely worth it. So then on special teams,
here's your favorite guy,
Keyshawn Nixon. And he's a free agent, so we'll talk about him a little bit later. I gave him an A++. I mean, we haven't had a return guy like him in a long, long time. I can't tell you enough how much it, just so much enjoyment I got out of watching him every single week. Because you knew that something could happen and he could break one. So that anticipation, it's just very exciting for me and for all Packers fans out there. And he deserved to be in the Pro Bowl, didn't make it, but he deserved to be there.
Yes, he did.
They don't actually have a whole lot of punt returners. I think there's only one. So he probably was the alternate, I would assume. So I gave him an A++ and deservedly so.
Yeah.
Mason Crosby, I gave an A- to because he was actually more accurate than the year before. He's losing a little bit of leg strength, which we had talked
Yes.
about. But I mean, you got to give the guy credit. He does not kick always in ideal situations, and the guy deserves an A-. Plus, he's our longest tenured player now.
Yeah.
So you got to give him some kudos for that, for hanging in there. So he's not a young dude anymore.
No.
I think he was drafted, I want to say, in 2007. So he's been with
Correct.
the club a while. So we're talking,
time.
what, 15, 16 years,
At
15,
least.
16 seasons. So,
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you wanted anybody else you wanted to mention as far as the players go, but
not really, other than some guys who are in their contracts years, like Dean Lowry on defense, Amos, Darnell Savage. Again, I like to
give
say,
you a big
like,
Zerbert on that. Yeesh.
I just Darnell Savage. I mean, he wasn't playing well, and they started to play well. Amos, the same thing. Lowry is he's done. Come on, get him out of there. He's not a factor at all.
They said he might go to Atlanta and follow Gray there, and I'm fine with that. Savage got benched. He actually got benched, and they had activated his 5th-year option. I don't know if I said it correctly, but that was in April. And I think if they could do it all over again, they wouldn't. He's another guy that's in for the restructuring part because of his somewhat poor play. So he's another guy. Just a very disappointing season on that side of the ball, as everybody knows.
Yeah, on paper we looked amazing. We looked at Super Bowl defense, top 3 defense, and then I don't know what happened.
It's like, what happened?
Yeah,
exactly. What happened?
Yeah, it was just everybody was just playing out of position, and then there were guys hurt, and then there was Joe Barry calling whatever Joe Barry was calling, where you're banging your head against the wall going, what are you doing? We had no pass rush after we lost Sean Gary, so we had 0 pass rush.
I think we only had 30 some sacks for the season. A lot of the leaders in that category had double that. And so I think Philly actually was close to that, to double what we had, and they were number 1 in sacks. And you have to get pressure on the quarterback. You just do. And we didn't do a really good job of that consistently.
Nope.
And at times that really hurt. That really hurt us when the game was on the line. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's do unit grades. Let's start with offense. What do you got?
Yeah, I gave them a D+.
I agree.
And I think that was pretty. Yeah, that might even be a little bit generous. But and then on the defense, which we had talked about some of the players. That's a D+ as well. And
that's harsh, man. You give him a D on that. I would have given him a C because they kind of pulled it together near the end there. But I hear you. D+. Okay.
Yeah, I think some of that's due to the fact they just can't stop anybody when they have to.
Yeah, the Detroit game was a sealer on that. The Detroit game was like,
and the expectation levels, they have invested a lot of draft capital in the defense. And some of those players you are expecting to reap the benefits. And it just hasn't happened. So again, on paper, I think that's part of it too, is, you were expecting a whole lot more than you actually got.
Right.
So, it's like someone, talking about this really nice restaurant, and then you go there and you're expected to have this great meal, and then just unfulfilled. Right.
But special teams, definitely better.
I gave them a B-. There was a lot of special teams players that were graded really, really high by Pro Football Focused. We talked about some of those players in a previous episode. Now that we actually have a kick returner, punt returner, and again, he's a free agent, so we need him back. I think our special teams coach did help a little bit.
Yeah, Versace, yes, he did.
And so, I mean, I gave him a B-. I mean, that's having Crosby also helps with that grade being a little bit higher, and I think that's fair. Coaching staff, I gave a D+.
I didn't know what they were doing half the time.
And I could have went lower on that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of all the times, and I didn't really go back and research it too much, but the second half of games where we were
Yeah.
outscored,
Right.
and it has to be significant. So they were not making the adjustments, and that's been a
No.
big LaFleur problem from the start.
From the start. Yeah.
That we've had really big, when we were winning 13 games,
You're right.
every single season, we had leads, big leads going into the second half where it didn't matter. But this year it was different, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of times we had to come back and we just weren't.
Yeah, we
And
can't do
so
that.
you have to be able to adjust and adapt and make changes, and the coaching staff overall wasn't doing that. So
No.
our special teams coach, not bad,
Rich
Bisaccia.
Versace. Yep.
Yeah. He actually raised that grade up, but
Yes, he did.
so our offensive coaches, defensive coaches, and especially our head coach, man, they just need to do better.
Just was not working. Yeah.
Then overall, I gave him a C-, and I think that's reflective of our 8-9 record, but it actually probably could have been worse with the expectation levels for the club.
Yeah.
And could have graded them out even lower.
Right.
But basically, when you add, use all the grades for all the units, it averages out to be a C-. So that's what it was at.
Yeah,
but it was actually between a D+ and a C-, but I just raised it up to a C-.
You're a harsh grader. Look at him. He's big time.
Well, usually I'm not, but it's hard not to be critical of the season that we had. So I'm not sure if you'd make any changes to that, but
no, not really. One of the biggest things, like I said on previous podcasts, is when people are asking me, "Hey, what do you think of Packers season?" and I was going like, "I don't know." And that's the first time I said that. Usually I was like, "Oh, the NFC Championship, Super Bowl, divisional round, whatever." I had no idea, and it really reflected on this season. It was just a really average season. We had some really nice games against Miami, and of course, being the Vike Queens, that was awesome. But our game against the Giants, that's when the wheels started to fall off. We're up I think 17-3. We're cruising in London, and then just everything just falls apart, and everybody just I don't know what happened. It was just like you said, we just couldn't come back, couldn't maintain the lead. And it was just
we got to put pressure on Daniel Jones because he does make mistakes.
Running game couldn't stop. Just one thing after another. So
yeah, the Giants do have a pretty good offensive line on the at the tackles, but up the middle.
No.
And then we need a player like Kenny Clark to step up and make some plays.
Yeah, create some havoc bust in there.
Right. So that did not happen. So again, lack of adjustments.
Lack of adjustments. And hopefully in the offseason, LaFleur will hear us and other people say, "Hey, man, why don't you really work on your adjustments instead of sitting there working on your eyebrows?" They look great, by the way. Your eyebrows and your nice goatee. I love it, but let's just stop working on that. Let's start working on it.
Yeah, definitely well-groomed.
He's
very
a well-groomed
dapper
gentleman. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So, Andy, I'm going to change things up here for a second. We're going to do quick fire free agents, which starts March 15th.
Yep.
Go or stay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to name a player, and you're just going to go or stay. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right. So quick fire, really easy. Randall Cobb.
Go.
Alan Lazard.
Stay.
Go.
Okay.
And we'll explain this after we're done. Robert Tunyon.
Go.
Mercedes Lewis.
Stay.
Go. Josh Nyman.
I had to hold on him because I would say stay.
Go.
I would stay if we have the money.
Go stay.
Because that Bakhtiari has to restructure his contract first.
Stay.
I would say stay.
Okay. Keyshawn Nixon.
Stay. Priority one.
Rudy Ford.
Stay. Playmaker.
Go. Adrian
Oh,
Amos,
go, 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 go.
stay.
Okay.
Dean
We disagree
Lowry,
on him.
Dean
Go,
Lowry, go.
go.
Jaron Reed,
I would say stay on him, but we have to restructure some contracts
go.
first. Okay.
Mason Crosby,
I would definitely want him to stay, but our punter Pat O'Donnell has to restructure his contract
go.
first. Maybe.
Go.
Okay. Go.
All right. So just really quickly, this is where we disagreed on. Okay. Randall
A
Cobb,
lot.
we agreed on. Alan Lazard, we disagreed. Here's really quickly why I think Alan Lazard should go.
Okay.
Because here was his chance to be the number one receiver, right? To be the guy that he's always wanted to be. And what happened, Andy? Was he number one or is he still number three?
Oh, he's a 3. Yeah.
Right. That's why.
Yeah. Well, the reason I had him staying was only because he's a great run blocker, and
Right,
that's
but
where we're going to have
we
to
can get
move.
that in the
But
draft, Andy. We can get that in the draft. We can't pay this guy, $8 million a year to block. Are you crazy?
yeah, and that's the other problem is we aren't. He's not going to probably be with the Packers because they won't be able to afford him. Someone's going to have to
No.
pay. That's why I put him as priority number 3. So he was not number 1 like Keyshawn Nixon would be. So, but he was down on the list. But I can understand what you're kind of swaying me a little bit, but you definitely can't pay him $8 million.
So Mercedes Lewis, I said go, you said stay. The reason why I said go is because, like I said, he was not the same guy blocking out there. Like when he would just like the whole damn defensive line would just like almost seems like would fall under him, and then Aaron Jones would get out there and run for like a 40-yard touchdown, and you're like, damn. Mercedes Lewis. So that was my argument about that.
Well, we do need some veteran leadership and some.
We do.
That was that was the main reason. Plus, he did make a few plays at the end of the year. He caught a couple touchdown passes.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, but.
Yeah, so you kind of got me on that. If we can bring him back for the veteran minimum, which I'm not sure if he wants to do that.
Probably not.
If he does want to do that, bring him back.
Okay.
So the other thing was Rudy Ford. The reason I said go was because a little consistency issues, but I can see how he could stay. I want Amos to stay because I still think if we draft a safety, we need veteran leadership in the back to really help him. Why did you want to see him go?
Just the money. I don't think the money's going to work, and they have to upgrade in that area anyway. So
right, but we can't get 2 safeties. Where are we going to get 2 safeties from? We're going to have to get rookies.
Well, a lot has to do also with Darnell Savage because you have now he's got the money. Yeah. So unless he restructures his contract, so
you have to do that.
I mean, I can understand your point of view on that. I just think he did drop off quite a bit.
Yeah.
From the previous year. So, he did play pretty well at the end of the year. I will give him that.
Yeah, he did. That's why I'm like.
But Rudy, we talked about him several times. He made some plays. He found a way to make some plays. So, and again, it depends on how much you're going to pay him. But that's a serious area of need for the Packers, and we'll talk about that later. In another shorter podcast.
When we get to the draft.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to draft a safety or 2.
Yeah. So Jaron Reed, I said the reason I said go because again, he just wasn't consistent, but we need big bodies. So I can see why you're saying, hey, let's see if we can restructure, work out with him. So
yeah, he actually had a good grade from Pro Football Focus, and he also a lot of the beat writers I wouldn't have given him a B+, but they gave him that. I was a little bit surprised. So I guess he was maybe graded a little bit higher than either one of us thought he was. So, but they have to have somebody in the middle. They are going to lose Lowry.
They got somebody. And Mason Crosby. The only reason I said go is because we're going to really need a kicker in the next few years if Aaron Rodgers leaves, someone who can maybe hit a 60-yarder from time to time, because really our offense is, in my opinion, going to have some real learning curves. It's gonna, I just don't see Jordan Love coming in and winning us 10 or more games. I just don't see that. So that means those games where our defense keeps us in the game and we need a field goal to win. Well, let's be honest. Mason Crosby's not going to hit from 55 anymore unless he has the wind at his back or he's in somewhere where it's like US Bank Stadium or whatever that's called with the Vikings. So that's my only point, is just I just can't trust him anymore that he's going to hit that big 55-yard kick at the end of the game to help us get over the top. We need a kid with a big leg and just kind of go with the growing pains, just like we do with Mason Crosby, and hopefully, we'll get some wins.
Yep, hopefully.
So that's it for that. That was fun. I like that, Andy. I like your little quick fire stuff. So let's get into, I know this isn't Packers playing, but we wanted to do an analysis of Super Bowl 57, and I chose Philly. Andy took Kansas City, and we're going to go through this fairly quickly because I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about Philadelphia and frankly don't really care that much about Philadelphia. However, they're a good team. They deserve to be there. This isn't some fluke where some team kind of got in on a, Tom Brady tuck rule, something like that. So I'm going to start out. Now, it's on Sunday, on December, February 12th, 5:30 p.m. on Fox. Right now, I believe the odds are 1.5 for Philly. Over under is 50.5 for you bettors out there. Speaking of bettors, a guy, I'm thinking it's a guy, could have been a woman, wagered $1 million on Philadelphia to beat the Chiefs. The bet was what they call as a money line bet at negative 125 odds. So that means if the Eagles win, no matter what the score is, because over under, we won't get into it, the better nets $800,000. What do you think of that, Andy? That's a nice payday, right?
Yep, and that could be a good bet too. It could be.
I like that bet. So
I
let's
like
get
that
right
bet.
into yeah.
Yeah, when you chose Philadelphia and I chose Kansas City, that wasn't actually our selections who was going to win the game.
Correct.
And just to follow up just very quickly, and before you get into your analysis of Philadelphia, these are the two best teams.
They are.
A lot of people that know a lot more than John and I know picked these two teams to be here, and they are the two best teams in each conference. So should be a very interesting and fun game. Hopefully competitive
we
too.
Hope.
So
yeah, we hope, right? Andy and I have been through the years, if you're old farts like us, where San Francisco won like 53 to whatever, and you're like, it's over by halftime, and you're like, oh, that was a fun party. So, excuse me. So let's start out with Jalen Hurts, just a really quick, brief synopsis. He led the team to an 8-0 start, and they found success with receivers Devontae Smith, Smith and AJ Brown. He has rushed for, and this is Jalen Hurts, 15 touchdowns, 13 of which came in the regular season. They have the second-ranked defense, and it's bolstered by safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson and linebackers T.J. Edwards and Hassan Reddick.
It's Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, who was second in the league with 16 sacks in the regular season. So the other cool thing is Jason Kelce, who's the center for the Eagles, is the brother of Travis Kelce. And they're having fun like brothers do at a Super Bowl. They actually have a podcast together that I listen to. It's pretty funny. Like they want to win, obviously, but they're like, I wish if I had a brother like this, like, hey, I want you to win. No, I want you to win. But you know what I mean? They have that attitude, like, yes, they want to win, But if the other one wins, they're like, cool. So that's kind of neat. So let's get into quarterbacks. Andy obviously is going to get with Patrick Mahomes. We know Patrick Mahomes, and Andy will go into all the superlatives that Patrick Mahomes does. However, Jalen Hurts, one of the biggest things that people forget, he entered this season as a big question mark, but he stepped up his game in a major way. He posted career best and significant stats, including completion percentage, passing yards, passing touchdowns, interception rate. I'm not going to get into his numbers because, again, I don't know much about Philadelphia and I don't want to bore people, but he played well, obviously. Receivers, this is one thing. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to back up really quickly. Just adding this in really quickly. Obviously, the edge in quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's a slam dunk. However, Patrick Mahomes is still having that ankle. So that's one thing we can talk about here when you get to the Chiefs. If he gets hit on that ankle a couple times, that could equal stuff out. So let's go to receivers. Miles Sanders, there's a guy, Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. And then, the running backs. I'm sorry. Let's go to running backs. Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. Get a little ahead of myself. So Miles Sanders is a really good running back. He broke out in 2022, rushing for career highs of yards and touchdowns, made the Pro Bowl for the first time in his career. Gainwell and Scott usually get a series, but they still operate at a high level because they have that great offensive line, which I'll get into here. One of the other things, though, I think with the offensive line and the running backs, I think that's where the Eagles have the advantage. So even though the quarterback don't have the advantage in offensive line and running backs, I feel they do. So Eagle receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins. Like, I don't really know any of these guys other than A.J. Brown, and they're all good receivers. They're going to find a way to get open. Are they marquee guys like a Devontae Adams? Absolutely not, in my opinion. However, they're workmanlike. They're going to get open. I think they have a slight advantage with their size and their speed over the Chiefs. So, tight end, who cares? It's Kelsey. It's always Kelsey. This Dallas Goedert guy would have to have Goddard, whatever his name is. He would have to have the greatest game of all to upset Kelsey and what he does. Eagles offensive line, I'm not going to go through their names other than, like I said, Jason Kelsey. He's there, but there's really good offensive line, very well. So that's really for the offense. I feel they have an edge in offensive line, a little bit of an edge in receiver, a little bit of an edge in running backs. Quarterback goes obviously to Kansas City. So let's go to the Eagles defense really quick. Did you know Ndamukong Suh is on the Eagles? Did you know that, Andy?
I did. Yeah, they signed him during the year. They had some that. Yeah, they had some issues with injury on the line, so they brought him in.
So Eagles defensive line, it's a good line. It's a push for me. I think when Andy gets into his analysis, I think it's kind of a push, but there's still a good defensive line. Where they shine in, this is where they win, absolutely win, is their linebackers. T.J. Edwards, Kazir White, Hasten Riddick. They're fast, hard-hitting two Pro Bowlers, Edwards and Riddick. Man, they come at you. They are coming. And if they get to Mahomes and knock him around, look out, Kansas City Chief fans. It's going to be a long day for you. I'm just saying. Eagles secondary, which is going to be tested. Darius Slay, he's a tremendous corner. And a guy named Bradbury on the other side is no slouch. Kind of looked at him. He's good. Reed, though, I feel with safeties, Chiefs are better to have safeties, but Slay's, I feel his presence shift his position to the Eagles on corners just a little bit because, again, Kansas City has some young guys on defense. And I think that, again, really linebackers and secondary, especially linebackers, goes to Eagles. Special teams, I think it's Eagles' only weak spot. And Andy will get in again, like I said, to Kansas City. They have some injured guys who may not play on their special teams. So that's really what the weak spot is, in my opinion. So if the Kansas City jumps on them early in special teams, could be a long day for you Eagles fans. So coaches, I'm not going to lie, Andy Reid is one of my favorite coaches. He was on Mike Holmgren's staff when Mike Holmgren came here to Green Bay. He was the tight ends coach at the time. He's a really cool guy. I worry about him because he's one cheeseburger away from a massive stroke. And I'm not trying to make light of that. It's just every time I see him, I'm like, oh man, come on, buddy, you can do it. He's a tremendous coach. He always finds a way to win. So Nick Sirianni, not taking anything away from him, he's a good coach. But my thing is it too big for him? That's one of the biggest things because Andy Reid's been here. This is his 4th Super Bowl. He's played really a tough last game against the Bengals. But the Eagles really weren't challenged. I mean, in my opinion, not like the Chiefs were, because that game against Cincinnati could have went either way. Andy and I were talking about that before the show. And really don't know if Eagles have been tested enough and see what we can do. We actually tested them. The Packers tested them for a while and could have won that game, but we won't get into that. But my feeling is I'm not going to get into predictions into Andy talks about Kansas City, but my thing is it should be a good Super Bowl, we hope. So, Andy, take it away with Kansas City.
Yeah, Packers fans and NFL fans out there, I'll try not to bore you too much with some stats, but here it goes. So on offense, there's some key players for Kansas City. You got quarterback Patrick Mahomes, or as I like to call him, Mahomes. But so in the regular season, he had 5,250 yards. He had a 67.4 completion rate, 45 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And he's soon to be the 2022 NFL MVP. Yeah. So him and Hurts were in the running for that, by the way, John. And Mahomes is going to win it. So
he's going to win it.
Yeah, he's going to win it.
Hands down.
He was even the second leading rusher on the team with 358 yards. That's an interesting point. So he was the second leading rusher. Mahomes set the NFL record for the most total yards in a season by a quarterback with 5,608 yards, by the way. So he set the record this year. During the postseason, he's been doing just fine. I can bore you with a whole bunch of stats, but he's been doing great. Hasn't thrown any interceptions.
I think everybody knows.
And plus, he got knocked out of the first game that he was in against Jacksonville for a little while. So basically, I'll just give you the overview here. But he's been playing just fine in the postseason. Yeah. So Mahomes is arguably the best quarterback in the game today. He's an exceptional athlete. Throws off platform, different arm angles, sidearm, even underhanded. He makes plays outside the pocket with his legs. Has a Brett Favre-ish cannon arm, and they refer, one of his favorite quarterbacks growing up was actually Brett Favre. So very similar to Brett Favre in a lot of different ways. However, 2 weeks ago, he got injured against the Jacksonville Jaguars and basically had a high ankle sprain that usually takes 4 to 6 weeks to fully heal. Right. It has not been 4 to 6 weeks. No. He's not 100%. Don't let anybody fool you. He's not. So going to the Super Bowl, not 100%. So that's a drawback. So, but still has been playing great in the postseason anyway. So it doesn't look like he's getting affected too much, but they better protect him, shouldn't they? So anyway, the tight end, of course, is Travis Kelce. His regular season, he had 110 receptions, 1,338 yards, 12 touchdowns.
Amazing.
He's the NFL's #1 tight end. Nobody's even close.
No, he's
Not even close to that level of production.
No.
And he's done really great in the postseason as well. He had 3 more touchdowns, so he's actually up to 15 touchdowns on the whole year. In only 2 postseason games, he had 3 touchdowns. So he's, just a major factor, of course. So Kelce is arguably the best tight end in the last decade during his 9 seasons.
Yeah.
He is possibly the all-time best tight end to ever play the game. He runs exceptional routes, finds the holes in the D, is deceptively quick and fast, so much so that even opposing defensive backs cannot guard him. He's an incredible weapon in the red zone where he and Mahomes have an otherworldly rapport. He is also injured, by the way, John.
Yes.
And almost didn't play against Cincy last week because of back issues. According to Kelce, and this was what he said on that podcast with his brother, my back just locked up and fired up. His quote, his words.
Oh, boy.
So, again, another major cog in that wheel on the offense, injured. Rookie running back, Isaiah Pacheco, during the regular season had 830 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns. He's been averaging even more yards per carry in the postseason of 5.5. He led the team in rushing with 830 yards. He is a hard runner, attacks the hole, breaks tackles, has 4.3 speed to get to the edge, which I did not know until Daniel Jeremiah said that, actually.
Really?
Listen to one of his videos. And he can catch the ball in the screen game. And Daniel Jeremiah mentioned that that could be a key to the game to get him involved more in the screen game. Although they have McKinnon, but whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, great rookie. Just a bundle of energy, that guy. So I just love to watch him play. He does not stop. He's just very just a fiery competitor. Just great player. Then on defense, you've got defensive tackle Chris Jones. He's 6'6" tall, by the way. Big dude. And during the regular season, he had 15.5 sacks, so I have to mention him. He had 30 solo tackles, 4 pass defense, and 2 forced fumbles. So major force. And during the postseason, he's had a couple sacks as well. Usually he doesn't play well in the postseason. I don't think he had a single sack ever. And they were mentioning that on one of the broadcasts. So he has 2 sacks so far in the postseason, which is great. And Chris Jones is the team's best defensive player. He is arguably the best defensive lineman in the NFL. Sorry, Aaron Donald. He is a real playmaker, play wrecker, tends to make big plays when Casey just releases him.
Cincinnati game. Yeah.
Yep. So the other person, I don't know if John knows about him, but it's Nick Bolton. He's their linebacker.
Sure. Okay.
During the regular season, he had 180 tackles.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
108 were solo tackles.
Jeez.
He had 2 sacks and 2 interceptions, but man, he's a tackling machine. So during the postseason, he's had 20, I believe 24. I want to say it's 24 tackles. That actually might be wrong. That might be 14. Yeah, I think it's 14. Sorry. Typo. He's had 7 solo. I think he's had 14 tackles total. But usually he's averaging between 8 and 12 tackles a game. So anyway, I had him on my fantasy team, so I know this for a fact. Okay. So Nick Bolton is typically ranked in the top 10 at his position. He has what some people say a nose for the football. In other words, he's always around the ball and in the right spot to make plays. He's a sure-handed tackler who is very, very good in both the run and the pass game, unlike AJ Hawk. So
hey, stop picking at AJ.
He is an every down player. So again, he's also very good in the pass game. Typically an inside linebacker like him would not be, but he is really good and really fast, very instinctive. So The last person I wanted to talk about on the defensive side of the ball was L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah.
L'Jarius is his name.
Luxurious.
So he had 108 tackles in the cornerback position. That's a lot. He had 75 total, 3.5
That's
sacks,
too
3
much.
interceptions, and 3 forced fumbles. So he's a playmaker. That's why I put him on this list.
Yeah.
He's done really well during the postseason tackling. He hasn't done much else, but he was hurt. He didn't finish this AFC Championship game because he had a concussion. He also has not come out of concussion protocol yet, just to let you know. So, but he is expected to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And eventually get out of that. But as of now, he's questionable. So the KC secondary really needs him, considering four rookie defensive backs. Were playing at the end of the game against Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Yeah.
So overall, Sneed is just a great all-around player, but they really do need him. And so you don't want to rely on that many rookie defensive backs. So
no way.
So, John, I know we're running. We have been spending a lot of time today, but I'll go through some of the rankings if you want of some of the.
Through it quickly.
Why not? Okay. So the KC offense is first in points per game, first in yards per game, first in pass yards per game. They're first in DVOA, which measures offensive efficiency. And that's probably the key thing, and that's due to Andy Reid. So there's this metric that they have that they go through all the plays and the outcomes of those plays, and it's measured against every other team and every other team that they're playing and blah, blah, blah. They're number one in that category, which is saying a lot. They are second in red zone efficiency, but they are 20th in rushing yards per game. So that is a weakness for them. So the defense for KC is 16th in points. That they average 21.7. There's actually not a big difference between them and even Philadelphia's defense in the points allowed per game, but it is they were 16th. Yeah, Philly's 20 point something. So yeah, according to what I saw, but yeah, they are actually 16th in points. They're second in sacks with 55. Number one was Philly, by the way.
Yes,
by quite a bit. And so, and KC was 21st in interceptions. So they actually don't get a whole lot. So again, their secondary is a little bit of a weakness. So let's talk quickly about, and this probably won't be too quickly, and John, chime in when you want to. So KC's path to victory. This is what they need to do. And John actually mentioned some of this stuff before, but I'm about to mention it again, and then I'll go through my prediction for what I think is going to happen in the game. So here's their path to victory. The Chiefs need to keep Patrick Mahomes upright. Philly led the NFL in sacks during the regular season by quite a large margin, 14 more than KC. They had 69 overall.
They're linebackers. That's who they are, man.
Yeah. So the Eagles front seven has 4 guys with double-digit sacks. 4. And so remember, Mahomes is still injured. Protect Mahomes and prevent the interceptions that the Philly secondary is good at creating. And then KC's offensive line is ranked number 4 by Pro Football Focus, John, just to let you know. Philly was number 1.
Of course.
Number 1 the entire year.
Yeah.
Entire year, start to finish. They were number 1. So, and those 5 linemen better play like it. They better play like they're ranked number 4.
They're going to get manhandled.
The second thing is KC has to put their own pressure on the Philly quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Remember, Hurts is still nursing a shoulder injury. He's not 100%.
No.
With KC's front line of Dunlap, Clark, Karlaftis, who the Packers could have drafted, by the way, and Jones, they can disrupt the Philly pass game. That will be a tough task with Philly's offensive line being one of the top ones, if not the top pass blocking unit in the NFL. So they need to get pressure on him. The Eagles' line, again, was ranked number 1.
But here's the thing, Andy, just really quick. This is why Jalen Hurts, he gets out of the pocket. He's not Mahomes and going to be throwing it down the sideline. He's going to run. So now that means your linebackers are going to be chasing them, and the safeties are going to have to come up and try to tackle this guy, which is not easy. So that's where I think Kansas City has to be beaten by Jalen Hurts by the pass. Because, with that injured shoulder, it comes down to, yeah, you put pressure on him, you knock him down, that's fine. But if you do that and there's an opening, he's gone. And he's going to get that 10, 15 yards. While Mahomes does that and someone lands on his ankle again, uh-oh. Like I said, now you have a problem. And now you put Mahomes in the pocket and he's a statue. Oh, boy. That could be a long day. So that was
It
just one
could
of
be.
my things. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the third thing is Kansas City head coach Andy Reid needs to find
Yep.
a way to continue to scheme Travis Kelce
Yeah.
open. He's done a good job with that, actually.
Yeah. Hell.
And so Kelsey's made that, he's been impactful, and
Yeah.
that needs to continue in
Yep.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Especially with Casey's two wide receivers questionable. Juju Smith-Schuster and Kadarius Toney are both questionable for the game. And Mecole
Right.
Hardman, by the way, has been ruled out. So,
Yeah.
and he's one of their top wide receivers. He's been
Yes,
hurt
he
a
is.
lot. He has a abdominal whatever, and he re-injured it in the last game, and he's not playing. He's out.
So that means MVS got to step up, former Packers.
MVS, right? Yeah, former Packers.
Step up, buddy.
And then the fourth thing was the Chiefs secondary has to show up next Sunday. Those four, yes, football fans, 4 rookie defensive backs are going to have to play their best against those fabulous
P.J.
trio
Brown,
of pass catchers the Eagles
Ooh.
have. John, by the way, Smith and Brown each had over 1,000 yards, and
Yes.
Brown
I forgot
even
to mention
had
that.
a really, really good season. And so they are both legit players and
Yes, they
legit
are.
talents. And then you've got Dallas Goddard, who actually is
Eh.
probably in the top 4 tight ends, but that's not saying much in the
That's not
National
saying much.
Football League. But
Yeah.
and then the
it's no
fifth thing,
Travis
it sounds cliche, but the team that wins in the trenches
But,
will
yeah.
win the Super Bowl. And John
Yes.
mentioned that earlier, and John and I hadn't even really talked about it. I had already written it down. But I really think in this case, I know it sounds cliche, this really needs to happen. Kansas City has to win in the trenches.
They have
so
to.
the offensive line must block the Eagles' D line. The KC defensive line must wreak havoc on the Eagles' offensive line.
Oof.
Both KC
That's
lines
a lot.
must outplay the Eagles' lines. Yeah, I know that's asking a lot, and that's why I'm getting to what's going to happen in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that being said, I don't think that all 5 things will happen for the Kansas City Chiefs. Casey has a distinct advantage at quarterback and coaching staff. Head coach Andy Reid, offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, and defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, Spags as they call him. However, Philly has better offensive and defensive lines, pass catchers, running backs, and most importantly, a healthier roster.
Yes.
So I think that the score will be close, but the Philadelphia Eagles will win the Super Bowl by a score of 27-23. So, John, your prediction on that?
Yes.
So I picked the Eagles to win.
Yeah. So this is why I love you, and this is why we're like brothers. I said 27-24, Philly.
Oh, okay.
I think it's gonna be one of those Super Bowls similar to, and I hate to bring it up, our Super Bowl against Denver, where it was kind of back and forth, but at the end, Denver just, I don't know. I see they cheated, but let's not get into that. It's a different topic for a different day. This is what I think. At the end of the day, it's going to be kind of slow back and forth, or similar to Super Bowl 32, if you remember, we came out gunning, man. We scored a touchdown right away. We were up 7-0. I think it was to Antonio Freeman. And then the Broncos just came back and they scored, and then we scored, and then they scored. and then it kind of settled down a little bit. That's what I think is going to happen. So, Philly fans, hopefully you'll be listening to us, and you can give us a little extra love on comments and everything. Kansas City fans, though, still a chance, and we love your ribs and your barbecue.
Yes,
So
definitely do.
yeah, so it's been a long show, but it's our Super Bowl show. I'm gonna take it away, and we're gonna do the end of the show here. So Andy and I will keep you posted on significant Packers updates, especially in the near future with the Rodgers decision. Briefly, like I said, that would include the situation with Aaron Rodgers. Keep him, trade him, retire. Look, Raiders fans, he just won really quickly, Andy. Don't know if you know this, but Aaron Rodgers won the Pro-Am today with his partner. So he has a nice little trophy. And then, of course, people are asking where he's going to go. And Raiders fans are all over him. We already talked this about in the previous podcast. Look, we got to get as much as we can for him. So we're not even going to really get into that until he decides. We'll talk about the salary cap, restructuring of contracts, free agents, and also the NFL draft. We're going to have little mini episodes coming up where Andy and I will talk about players we would like to draft. And so we're really looking forward to that. So we'll be dropping some what I call mini-sodes in the upcoming weeks. And then we'll be on as soon as we can with the Rodgers decision and then anything with free agency. So, Andy, what else do you got for us before we close the show?
Yeah, so always remember, Packers fans, how truly blessed we all are. We could be cheering on the Super Bowl deprived 0-4 Minnesota Vikings. Be mindful. Be mindful and grateful that we are all super fans of the greatest sports team of all time, your 4-time Super Bowl champion, Green Bay Packers. Thank you all for listening to two old guys who love their Packers.
Thanks, Ann. I couldn't have said it better myself. By the way, anything you want to talk to us about, want to bring up some topics, or you just maybe say, you guys are wrong, you guys suck. PackersBlitz80@gmail.com. Please send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. We're also on YouTube. Hit subscribe and make some comments on there because we love our Packer fans. So Andy, you have a great week, and we'll talk later, buddy.
Take care, John.
Take care, Andy.